I'm Katie Beresford. I'm a senior middle blocker from Fishers, Indiana, and I'm a biology major.
Hi, I'm Kat Sylvester. I'm a junior libero from Carmel, Indiana, and I'm a political science major.
I'm Kayla Baptiste. I'm a senior outside hitter from Bloomington, Illinois, and I'm a psychology major.
I'm Savannah Gonzalez. I'm a freshman outside hitter from Kennesaw, Georgia, and I'm majoring in marketing.
I'm Rachel Wendell. I'm a junior middle hitter from Port St. Lucie, Florida, and I'm a nursing major.
I'm Blair Bolton. I'm a freshman right side hitter from Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I'm a nutrition major.
I'm Bria Mays. I'm a junior middle blocker from Loganville, Georgia, and I'm a psychology major.
I am Sadie Thurston. I'm a sophomore setter from St. Augustine, Florida, and I'm a chem major.
I'm Jordan Bickett. I'm a junior outside hitter from Tallahassee, Florida, and I'm a kinesiology major.
I'm Kaylee Boatwright. I'm a sophomore outside hitter from Lakeland, Florida, and I'm a kinesiology major.
I'm Paige Elliott, a sophomore middle blocker and right side hitter from Roswell, Georgia, and my major is pre-dentistry.
I'm Alyssa Latham, a senior setter from Punta Gorda, Florida, and I'm a kinesiology major.
I'm Janae Beisner. I'm a junior DS libero from Port Charlotte, Florida, and I'm an education major.
What you've gained as a student will be just as important to you as what you did as a player. As long as you know that you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable, there's no failure. Success on 3.
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes. And just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
What you've gained as a student will be just as important to you as what you did as a player. As long as you know that you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable, there's no failure. Success on 3.
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes. And just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
What you've gained as a student will be just as important to you as what you did as a player. As long as you know that you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable, there's no failure. Success on 3.
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes.
Fans, thank you for tuning in to the final volleyball home game webcast here on the Jaguar Network. The Augusta University Jaguars shoot into this contest with a 16-3 record overall and 3 games below 500 in the Peach Belt Conference, 7-10. But one of the most important things is that the Peach Belt Conference just released their rankings this week. And as of tonight, the Augusta University Jaguars are sitting in the 7th position within the Peach Belt Conference. And their opponents tonight are the squad that is directly behind the Jaguars within the Peach Belt Conference, the 8th-seeded Georgia College Bobcats. And they walk in here with a 12-14 record overall and a 6-11 record in the Peach Belt Conference. And also, just a reminder, too, that in the Peach Belt Conference, the top 8 teams that are ranked within the conference shoot on to the quarterfinals and the playoffs. So as of today, these 2 teams that you are watching are in the playoffs, but that could change by the end of tonight's ball game, as Georgia College now has control of the ball, and the Augusta University Jaguars exchange it over. And Paige Elliott sends a liner over to the Georgia College Bobcats, but the Bobcats strike first as they garner the first point here of game number 1. And Sadie Thurston is having some tremendous setups for Savannah Gonzalez on the opposite side of the court, and Savannah Gonzalez has a hand in that point matchup, but that point does shoot over to the Bobcats. So the Jaguars are behind here by 2. Let's see if they can muster up a point. Janaea Beisner with a pretty good dig and a setup on the opposite side is now Paige Elliott takes a breather, and you have the front court of Savannah Gonzalez. It's like Sadie Thurston and Jo Wendell, but now Catherine D. Sylvester sets it up beautifully for Savannah Gonzalez to tap it on over, and then allows the defense of the Bobcats to dig it out and block it out, but then they mess it up on their side of the court with a dig that went the opposite way of what they were thinking. So now the Jaguars have mustered up a deadlock here, 2-2. And that Jaguar point was brought to you by Sadie Thurston, who on the front court scored a block and scored their 3rd point. And on that possession, the Jaguars acquired their 4th point and now have ball control as Catherine D. Sylvester is on serve call. And Miller Howard for the Bobcats has a say in that point, but it is a big but because the Jaguars respond very well, and they send it back over to the Bobcats, but the Bobcats come back weaving to make it a 4-3 score, and then the Jaguars, just as we say that, score their 5th point. So now the Jaguars are sprinting ahead here, 5-3. Let's see if they can keep the momentum back on their side. That is absolutely phenomenal placement by Taylor Sveva from the Jaguars, as she sent up a floater that absolutely finds nobody of the Jaguars and shoots right down on the trajectory on the back of the Jaguar head in the center of the court. And now they scored their 5th point, but the Jaguars come shooting back with a miscue on a serve from the Bobcats, and they shoot on ahead by 1, 6-5. And the kill from the Jaguars side was redirected up front by the blocking of the Bobcats, and then that allows them to dig it out and reset to send the Bobcats to tie this puppy up at 6-all. And Kaylee Boatwright takes charge of that point for the Jaguars off of some beautiful setups, and absolutely has some vicious velocity and tremendous trajectory on that kill shot. Is now the Jaguars are setting up beautifully for a kill by Rachel Wendell, but a block from the Bobcats extends the play, and on the opposite side of the court, the Jaguars place the ball directly in front of Miller Howard on the backcourt of the Bobcats for the Jaguars' 8th point. And there you see why blocking in the front court and the front line of the Bobcats and from the Jaguars all year long is so pivotable, as Georgia College wrangles in their 7th point from some blocks that were absolutely phenomenal. But then they score their 8th point off of a serve that just deadens right before it went out of bounds on the Jaguar side of the court. And the Bobcats, who were trailing 8-6, have weaved their way back to a 1-point advantage, 9-8. And a kill there on the on the Bobcat side of things allows the Bobcats to maneuver 2 points ahead, but off of a serve miscue from the Bobcats, the Jaguars creep on up on the Bobcats 10-9. And Janaea Beisner looks to see what kind of damage she can do off of a serve, as that serve sets the Bobcats up perfectly, but the refs caught them in an error. So now it's 11-9. Or excuse me, the Jaguars were caught in an error, so now the Bobcats have control, and the Jaguars are trying to rebound, but again, some pivotal blocks up front allow for their 12th point of the affair. Sadie Thurston sets it up gorgeously for a kill from the Jaguars. It's responded to extremely well from the Bobcats, and that's where some of the blocks up front can hurt you, as a deflection off of the Jaguars, not knowing where the deflection will take the ball, lands in favor of the Bobcats. But the Jaguars make a statement on that particular point, saying that with the Bobcats scoring a point, we can score a point just as well. And now the Bobcats are waiting for a response, but they do not get one, as the Jaguars on the far side of the court exchange the ball over to the Bobcats, but that ventured out of bounds. So the Bobcats now have a 4-point lead. In a diving dig try by number 10 of the Bobcats does not go her way, as the deflection off of number 10 causes the Jaguars to score their 11th point of the game. Janaea Beisner displaying the heart that she has with that dig save out of the backcourt, and now sets it up beautifully for Savannah Gonzalez, but the Bobcat backcourt save it, and now they're on the offensive, but a kill from Caroline Long of the Bobcats ventures outside of the near side out of bounds line. So now the Jaguars are only trailing by 2. And the Jaguars load the backcourt up there. You have three defenders in the backcourt, and that does cause a problem when you have some kills that have taken some velocity off of the ball, and that is what Miller Howard did for the Bobcats on the previous point. She took some velocity off of the kill, and the Bobcats have scored 2 straight points to extend their lead to 15-13. And a phenomenal block up front by Katie Beresford issues that point for the Jaguars, finding an opening in the Bobcats defense and exploiting it. But now, what was a 1-point lead has extended to a 2-point advantage off of a point from the Bobcats. And let's see how the Jaguars respond. And Catherine D. Sylvester there with a phenomenal save that keeps the ball alive for the Jaguars. And up front, Savannah Gonzalez has a kill that is stifled by Miller Howard in the backcourt. And the Bobcats now score off of a ball that was sent to the near side of the court for their 17th point. And that warrants a timeout from the Jaguars.
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes, and just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports. There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes, and just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
On the far side of the court, Rachel Wendell delivers a vicious kill that the intentions were to land in the near side of the backcourt for the Jaguars, and it found its mark as now the Bobcats are trying to confuse the Jaguar defense with soft touches, but to no avail as it Catherine D. Sylvester again with a life-saving play on this particular point for the Jags, and it's keeping the ball alive. As Katie Beresford rides the out-of-bounds line very well, and it touches within the out-of-bounds line, so that garners the Jaguars their 16th point of the affair. And off of a point for the Bobcats that initially caught Savannah Gonzalez off guard. Savannah Gonzalez takes a breather, and now the Bobcats are still clinging to a 2-point advantage, but the Jaguars spring on up to their 17th point off of a kill that nails the outside of the far side court on the Bobcat side. So now let's see how they respond as it's 18-17. And the Jaguars, off of a deflection up front on a block, redirects that ball, and it lands right in the center of 4 Bobcat defenders. And you can give an assist to the net on that particular point for the Bobcats as the net caused a huge velocity drop and a redirecting of the ball to allow the Bobcats to inch away farther, 19-18. An excellent communication from Catherine D. Sylvester and Alyssa Latham as it saved the possession for the Jaguars for the moment, but off of a point for the Bobcats, the Jaguars are calling for their second timeout. timeout serves the Bobcats well as they acquire their 21st point, but then the Jaguars strike right back and counter-strike with their 19th point. And that allows Janaea Beisner back to serve it up for the Jaguars. Alyssa Latham with a phenomenal setup on the outside for the Jaguars' 20th point off of some blocks for the Bobcats that did not go their way. And now Janaea Beisner is second straight serve, and the Bobcats are weaving their way in front by 2, 22-20. And now number 10 for the Bobcats serves it up, and she serves it up well for the Jaguars as Kaylee Boatwright sends a kill shot venturing from the far side to the near side back line for the kill, and the Jaguars acquire their 21st point. And the Jaguars, off of a float over that caught them off guard, Catherine D. Sylvester saved it for the Jaguars on the initial touch, but then up front they could not recover that save as a net deadened it right in front of some of the Jaguars defenders, as the Bobcats are only 2 points away from securing game number 1. But now they are on offense as Catherine D. Sylvester sticks it and digs it out for a kill shot that was blocked by Georgia College. And now Georgia College is rolling as they have their 24th point and are 1 point away from taking victory here in game number 1. Janaea Beisner with a dig out of the middle and off of a dig that was sent under the net, allowed let's see if the Jaguars can come sprinting out of the gate in game number 2 with some agility, with some quickness to be able to capitalize on some of the points that will be presented to them. And let's see if the Bobcats can continue to execute their game plan to perfection and execute it well to the point that they come back and take a 2-0 game advantage here in this match. And up front, Paige Elliott took charge of the front court as she sent a block that shot past the front court of the Bobcats and found open space and exploited holes in the Bobcat defense. And the Jaguars are roaring out to a 2-0 lead here in game number 2 and playing with a little bit of urgency here. As you can hear the passion coming out of Catherine D. Sylvester's mouth there as she could not quite reach that first point from the Bobcats. And a soft touch up front was covered up well from the Bobcats. And there again, reminiscent of the first game, blocks can kill you in a sense of the deflection off of the blocks landing in your own court, as that's what happened to the Jaguars. They blocked it extremely well, but then the block went straight down off of the hands of the Jaguars and landed in their court. So the point goes to the Bobcats, and now they are on the offensive. And Catherine D. Sylvester, who has been a lifesaver for the Jazz, continues to play the backcourt extremely well and keeping the ball alive for the Jags. And a deflection that sent number 10 sprawling out of bounds to make a diving save, but could not connect with that save. And the Jaguars are in business here, leading by 1, 3-2. And an absolutely wonderful dig save there by Catherine D. Sylvester leads to the front court, capitalizing on it and exploiting a hole within the Bobcat defense. Serve is off from the Jaguars side. And that serve leads to a miscalculation on the part of the Bobcats, and they send a kill that soars out of bounds. And now the Jaguars, off of some mental errors from the Bobcats, are ahead 5-2. Savannah Gonzalez tries for a kill, but some beautiful blocking up front by the Bobcats. The Bobcats are now on defense, but they set their feet, and a dig that's sent over to the Jaguars part of the court, and they have some blocks and some kills, but it's deflected over to the Bobcats, in which they return the favor and shoot a vicious kill over into the Jaguars territory, and now they are back in control, and they are back on the serve, and that is brought to you by Caroline Long. And Savannah Gonzalez with a little bit of strategy and a soft touch. Oh, keeps the points in favor of the Jaguars, 6-3. Now Catherine D. Sylvester is back to serve it. And the blocking up front there from the Jaguars proves to be a staple in extending the play to the Bobcats, but the Bobcats come firing back on all cylinders with a kill shot from the Bobcats that allows them to step up to the plate and only be behind by 2, 6-4. Set up beautifully on the far side to the near side for Savannah Gonzalez. Does not end in a point, though, for the Jaguars as the ball is kept alive for the Bobcats. Now, Alyssa Latham sends the ball over to the Bobcats, but in lethal territory, as that is a territory where kills happens a lot of times when the ball is stuck up in the air and it's low enough, but it's high enough for a kill to penetrate down into Jaguar territory. And the Bobcats, since trailing by 3-3, they have come back with a roar here. 7-6 is the score, and that calls for.
And just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
What you've gained as a student will be just as important to you as what you did as a player. As long as you know that you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable, there's no failure. Success on 3.
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes. And just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
So coming out of the timeout, the Jaguars up front go with Alyssa Latham, Katie Beresford, and Savannah Gonzalez. As it's looking like Miller Howard takes a serve for the Bobcats and serves it off extremely well, causing the Jaguars to extend the play over to the Bobcat side of things, but a block and a dig up front causes an error for the Bobcats, and the Jaguars score their 7th point and deadlock this game up at 7. And Katie Beresford there off of a dig sets up Savannah Gonzalez extremely well, allowing her to get on top of the ball, penetrate through the ball, and shoot off a dig that lands directly to where no Bobcats were. And now, off of the Jaguars' 8th point, we have a substitution on the Bobcat side to shore up their front court. Savannah Gonzalez, though, for the Jaguars, uses a little bit of strategy as she took a lot off of the kill shots that she has been executing thus far in this game and decides to float one over the net and exploit the defense and their defensive holes even more. And now the Jaguars are out to a 10-8 advantage here in the second game, as Savannah Gonzalez is back to serve for the Jags. Ebony Powers for the Bobcats tries a little bit of strategy with a soft touch, but puts it in a very peculiar position. The Jaguars do respond and extend it over to the Bobcats, but the Bobcats say they had enough of that point and take that point to bed as they score their 10th point, or excuse me, score their 9th point of the matchup, and the Jaguars have their 11th point off of a float over. And now Katie Beresford has the ball and is ready to go and serves it off to where a dig was dug out by the Bobcats, and now the Jaguars are on offense getting set to respond on defense, and now the Jaguars set up Kayla Baptiste extremely well, but it goes over to the Bobcat side of things, and the blocking up front and the communication up front attributes to their 10th point, and the Jaguars are still ahead by 1 here, 11-10. And a powerful kill from the Bobcats deflects off of Jordan Bickett of the Jaguars, and Catherine DeSylvester finds her way up to the front court. The ball deflects off of her in the front court and maneuvers to the back court, as when all the Jaguars were in the front court, nobody was able to recuperate and recover from that deflection and get to that ball in time, as the game is deadlocked 11-all. And now the Bobcats feel the sting off of a kill from the Jaguars, but they're rocking and rolling as a kill was delivered into the backcourt, but the line refs attributes the point to the Jaguars as he dictates that that ball skewered out of bounds just a wee tad, and now the Jaguars are ahead by 1. Make that 2. As the line refs saw that ball sail out of bounds. Great communication up front, as you just witnessed from both teams. But Paige Elliott takes charge of that point, but it does go to the Bobcats, as when she delivered that kill shot, it soared out of bounds. Janaea Beisner there with an excellent block and a set. Sets away for Kaylee Boatwright to deliver their 13th point of the ball game. And Bickett with a shot that it technically wasn't a kill shot and it wasn't a float over. It just was to keep the ball in play, and it turns out to be an extremely accurate shot and an excellent point for the Jaguars, as that was deflected off of the backcourt, and the Jaguars now are rocking here. But the communication aspect of gameplay was their detriment there, as you saw 2 Jaguar defenders dive for that particular save. And it was in between both of them, as the Bobcats now come back to respond well, but the Jaguars are taking charge on that point, and it's 15-14. And now Catherine DeSylvester is back on the serve. Miller Howard with a kill there, but the Jaguars up front from Katie Beresford sends the ball over into Bobcat territory, and the Bobcats could do nothing with that particular ball as it was out of the outreached hands of the backcourt for the Bobcats. And the Jaguars, once they initially scored that point, that first point, they have come out of this ahead by 3, 17 to. Now as we come back, Catherine DeSylvester soars a ball that is garnered and exchanged back over for the Bobcats, and they attach their 15th point of the second game as that timeout does them extremely well, and they come back with ball control after that initial point out of that timeout. And both teams with back and forth efforts on this particular possession, but the Bobcats get the better of the exchanges, and that allows Melissa Howard to serve it off once again. And Alyssa Latham with some blocking expertise on that initial block. And she scores their 18th, the Jaguars' 18th point of the affair. And her reward for blocking and garnering the point is she serves it off for the Jaguars. But the Jaguars are back on offense as an excellent setup by Kaylee Boatwright to Alyssa Latham. And now it's back in the Bobcats territory. And now the Jaguars have control of the ball and possession of that point, and they drive home their 19th point of the second game. And number 7, Ebony Powers, caught the Jaguars defense on their heels instead of on their toes, and that's soared by the backcourt. Excellent dig there by Catherine DeSylvester, allowing the Jaguars to set their feet under that dig and make some positive plays, as there is another positive play for the Jaguars, and their front court has been a staple all game long, and that front court just delivers their 20th point off of a block. So now the Bobcats regain the momentum, though, off of a soft touch by Ebony Powers. And now Kayla Brockway is on the serve call for the Bobcats. As Catherine D. Sylvester shows the passion that she has had all season long with a diving save that ventured over to Bobcat territory and was a little bit long. And now Catherine takes a break, and that allows the front court to be reassured as the Jaguars now are back in control of the possession. And now the ball floats into Bobcat territory. Now the Jaguars are responding. And after several exchanges back and forth, the Bobcats and their rotations garner their 21st point. The Jaguars had some phenomenal rotations in there as well, but you kind of get the sense of how important the communication is for both squads. And the 22nd point comes home to the Jaguars. And Janaea Beisner is set to serve it off, and she does it. And the Digs have a little bit of a spin on the ball, and that was the detriment for the Bobcats, as you cannot predict the spin.
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes, and just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
Janaea Beisner looks to apply more pressure to the Bobcat defense, but that serve was unfortunately a little too long. Now an excellent setup for Paige Elliott to get her hands on it, and she kills that ball, but the Bobcats recuperate, and off of some miscommunication there from the Jaguars in their territory, the Bobcats are now creeping back up here, and it's 23-22. An excellent dig by Jordan Bickett. I don't think that was intended to go over towards the Bobcats defense, but it does, and that allows them to set up perfectly for a kill that Catherine D. Sylvester tried to scout out and dig out, but it was just a little bit too far beyond her reach. But they come roaring back as a block from the Bobcats ventures out of bounds, and some of the deflections off of some of the blocks and some of the digs are very unpredictable, which causes some confusion and some miscommunication from the players. And that is a lot of times where you're seeing some of the points that have been garnered here in the first game and as well in game number 1. But let's see how the Jaguars respond and the Bobcats respond. The Bobcats, though, miscommunicate with that particular play as the Jaguars score their 20. So if you are Georgia College, intensity and focus is the game plan, along with pristine execution. And if you're the Jaguars, just keep applying the pressure as you've been doing for the past 2 games. Or, excuse me, for the past game. And now, as we're set to take off here in game number 3, the Jaguars are back on the serve. And Katie Beresford is set to launch game number 3. And the Bobcats come out with a little bit of deception as 3 blockers jump up in the front court to dictate that all 3 of them might be trying to kill. But on the far side, the kill was laid out, and the Jaguars capitalized and took that home and had a kill of their own. And now the Jaguars, again, off of a kill that was long, tie this puppy up at 1. The Bobcats set up, and the kill from the Jaguars misfires as the Bobcats and Katie Ray had the serve, but the Jaguars capitalized with Paige Elliott on the front court and a kill that was sent directly down at a diagonal angle for the Jaguars' second point, and to deadlock this third game at 2. The spread out defense of the Jaguars on that particular point was a detriment as a kill landed right in front of Catherine DeSylvester. And a serve that is a little bit too vicious and a little bit too hard sailed out of bounds as the Jaguars shoot on back to tie this up at 3. DeSylvester again for the Jaguars saves that point and keeps it alive, but off of the save and off of the rebound, the Jaguars could not support that particular dig as there was a deflection that went out of bounds. So now the Bobcats have a firm grip, 4-3. But the Jaguars come firing back though, and they nod this puppy up again at 4. And Catherine DeSylvester is back, ready to take the serve off for the Jaguars. And Georgia College fires up their 5th point off of a kill that sends, I believe it was Kayla Baptiste on a dive there as that deflection off of that dig try went south. And now the Jaguars are trying to come back, but a deflection off of a block from the Bobcats sends it back into Jaguars territory where DeSylvester could not cover enough ground to get under it and make a dig out of it. And Katie Beresford says, I'll take this particular point in my own hands, as a setup allows her to get under the ball and project the ball to the outside or the backcourt and nail in and deaden the ball enough to where it falls inside the out-of-bounds marker. Now the Jaguars on this possession are back on offense, and another kill, this time by Alyssa Latham. The Jaguars are exploiting holes here within the last 2 points to come alive and tie this puppy up at 6. And it looks like Ebony Powers again is displaying phenomenal vision and power of her own as that kill lands right in front of Jaguar defenders. And the blocking up front is getting increasingly better for the Bobcats. So now Katie Ray keeps the momentum and the ball alive for the Bobcats. The Jaguars are set to rebound on defense, and they do as a block occurred, but the Bobcats pick it up well. But the refs, off of a miscue by the Jaguars, attribute to the Bobcats' 8th point. The Bobcats, off of a miscue from Miss Rachel Wendell there, tried to go for a soft touch, but it did not. It touched the net and rebounded on the side of the Jaguars. So now the Jaguars are trailing 9-6, and let's see how they respond. That kill from the far side in Jaguars territory ventured out of bounds in Bobcat territory. Now the Bobcats has sprinted out to a 4-point advantage. And Savannah Gonzalez, off of a kill, as initially thought the play might be extended, but Savannah Gonzalez with a kill shot that allows the Jaguars to creep on back 10-7, but as we see here, the Jaguars keep on coming back. You can't stop the Jaguars locomotive as number 6 Rachel Wendell with a kill, and they're on a roll with 2 consecutive points scored. As tack on a third from a block from Katie Beresford that deflects off of the front court of the Bobcats. And another front court definitive point off of a block for the Jags. And let's see how the Bobcats can respond after allowing four straight points, and they do, as Ebony Powers has something to say about it, and she delivers a kill that stifles a 4-point swing by the Jaguars. So the Bobcats have control, ahead by 1 here, 11-6. Catherine DeSylvester lifts a dig off, and that allows for, on the far side, Kaylee Boatwright to muster in a strong kill that gets by the defender on the backcourt. So now it's all knotted up at 11, but the Bobcats quickly fire back their 12th point off of a kill. And Katie Ray now, for the Bobcats, has a lot to say with this serve as she serves it off. But Alyssa Latham for the Jaguars sets it up perfectly for a kill as Rachel Wendell takes a breather, and Janaea Beisner has the call for the serve. Janaea Beisner tries a little bit of strategy, takes some huge velocity off of that serve, and puts it in the Bobcat front court. Well, they lift it up, and the Bobcats kill it. Very strong, so strong that it went out of bounds. And now the Jaguars have scored their 13th point, but the Bobcats again respond very well and counter-strike with their 13th point. And you can feel the pain up here from number 10 of the Bobcats, as you could hear that dig, and that dig sent the ball sailing out of bounds to give the Jaguars their 14th point. So now Melissa Howard for the Bobcats shoots the ball over into Jaguar territory, but again on two straight defensive possessions from the Jaguars, Catherine D. Sylvester has been a lifesaver for both. And now on the other side, or on the same side, excuse me, Savannah Gonzalez took a little bit off of the velocity and put it where Melissa Howard was not for the Jags. So she tries to do the same thing that Catherine D. Sylvester does for the Jaguars, but it was just a little bit beyond her reach. And the Jaguars are not victorious on that particular possession, as the Bobcats now have the ball and are only down by one. And when the blocking goes extremely well, the blocking can be imperative to point production, as it was just there, as the blocking up front for the Bobcats allow them to pick up their 15th, but then a service miscue from Melissa Howard attributes to the Jaguars' 16th point. And Catherine D. Sylvester back to serve. She serves a rocket over to Ebony Powers, who floats it over for the Bobcats. But the net ricochets a kill back in Bobcat territory, as Katie Ray could not get there to keep the ball alive for the Bobcats. And a little touch block that was sent from the Jaguars, Katie Beresford, over to the Bobcats on this particular play, results in a point for the Bobcats. And a block up front keeps the ball alive for the Bobcats, but let's see how the Jaguars respond, as they send a shot over perfectly for a dig out from the Bobcats, but a deflection off of the dig went west. And now the Jaguars extend their lead to 2. Make that 3, as a touch from Savannah Gonzalez was shot over to the backcourt. And Melissa Howard tried so hard to dig that dig out, but to no avail. The Jaguars are in firm control, 19-16, and they have ball control as they serve it off to the Bobcats. The Bobcats, though, off of a dig, try to set up for a kill, but to no avail, as Caleb Brockway for the Bobcats could not reach that dig set. Now Caleb Brockway sets it up perfectly for Ebony Powers, but the Jaguars on some key blocks extend the ball, and now the Jaguars capitalize on those extensions and accumulate their 21st point of the third game. And Savannah Gonzalez on the outside with that power behind some of those kills, and it ventures off of a Bobcat defender.
What you've gained as a student will be just as important to you as what you did as a player. As long as you know that you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable, there's no failure. Success on 3.
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes. And just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
The Bobcats, a little bit of some miscommunication as Ebony Power shoots too far up in the front court to rebound off of a block from the Jaguars, and now the Bobcats are in trouble, down by 6, 23-16, but they come back with their 17th point as that kill from the Bobcats shoots wide of the out-of-bounds marker. And a phenomenal setup from the Jaguars, and you can hear the passion coming from the players from the Jaguars, and they can smell victory as they are only 1 point away from securing game number 3. And the Jaguars, off of extremely great decisions from the front court and
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes, and just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
So with game number 4 about to be underway, let's see if the Bobcats can come scratching their way back into this matchup as they are now down 2-1. The Bobcats serve it off. And the Jaguars acquire the point. As you saw some rotations from the Bobcats, it kind of gives you an idea of how crowded and how imperative communication is on a lot of the rotations from the front court and the back court. The Bobcats now are on the offense, but too many teammates up front for the Bobcats was the detriment there, as the front court of the Jaguars exposed that, and they sent a kill past a lot of the Bobcat defenders. And now Caleb Baptiste sends the Bobcats on offense. They set it up, and now Jordan Bickett with an excellent defensive save from the Jaguars, but it turns into no avail as the Jaguars cannot muster a point there, and that goes towards the Bobcats off of a kill. And now Jordan Bickett with a nice defensive save and tack on another one to her stats. And you've got the Bobcats are finding areas now where the Jaguars are not. That one just scoots on by Janaea Beisner. So this puppy is tied up at 2. And Katie Ray is on the serve. And the Jaguars set up nicely for Kayla Baptiste, and a vicious kill shot. That impact on that ball, it shivers up my spine, but that was a little bit too long. And the Bobcats now have scored 2 consecutive points off of a dig. That took a little bit of a bite out of Catherine D. Sylvester, but now she appears to be okay. And now the Jaguars are back on defense, awaiting the ball, and the blocking up front does not muster into any points, but it allows the Jaguars to recuperate. But not for long, as the Bobcats generate a point off of a kill. And that kill was brought to you by Kayla Brockway. So now the Jaguars, who are down by 3, 5-2, come inching their way back with their 3rd point of the contest. Kaylee Boatwright is back on the serve for the Jaguars, and now Miller Howard changes up the strategy a little bit. Thought about going with a kill shot, but she saw the defense and she changed it up and shot a little floater that was long enough to get over the backcourt and short enough to deaden in front of the Jaguar defense. Now the Jaguars return the favor, and the Bobcats are on the defensive, but that is to an avail, as now the Jaguars have scored their 4th point and are well on their way to a comeback here. It is 6-4. An excellent defense from Rachel Wendell digs it out and moves out of the way of some defensive help from the Jaguars, and that communication adds to their score off of a kill that went south for the Bobcats. So now the Jaguars are only trailing by 1. And the Jaguars continue to crank up the heat as they have come roaring back from a 3-point deficit to tie this puppy up at 6. The detriment on that play for the Jaguars was that they were too spread out on defense, covering a little bit too much ground, and it left a hole in there for the Bobcats to expose. And now this particular point leaves it open for Savannah Gonzalez for a kill, but the Bobcats, recuperate very well, exchange it over towards the Jaguars, but the Jaguars respond very well with a kill of their own. So now that serve just dies right in front of Kayla Brockway, but she capitalizes on it, and the Bobcats do some damage of their own as they drive home their 8th point of the 4th game. And if Paige Elliott has anything to say about it, they tie this puppy up at 8 as she sends a rocket right smack dab on the Bobcats side of the court. That thing has some velocity on it. Now the Bobcats are in control as they send the ball over to Jaguar territory. Savannah Gonzalez, an excellent dig, but a little touch over extends past the blocks of the Jaguars into no man's land, and that is where they acquire their 9th point. Kayla Brockway is serving for the Bobcats, but her serve ventures out too wide. So now the control comes back in favor of the Jaguars. Meanwhile, Paige Elliott takes a seat, and Rachel Wendell comes in for fresh legs in the front court, and the Bobcats, off of a deflection, deliver their 10th point home. And remember, fans, the Bobcats are down 2-1, so this game is imperative for them to extend this game to a 5th and final game, to where if we do get to a 5th game, the maximum points that any team can score in that 5th game is 15. The Bobcats are well on their way, as there's another point that they can tack on to their total. And that point serves well for the Bobcats. Off of a kill and a deflection off of a block on the Jaguars' part lends to the Bobcats' 12th point. And the Jaguars might have been caught watching the ball as a kill was stifled in the net, and the rebound went into Jaguar territory right in between 4 defenders, but they do respond extremely well as Rachel Wendell accounts for their 10th point. Let's see if Janaea Beisner can bring some luck for the Jaguars as the Bobcats dig that out. And a kill from Miller Howard extends beyond the out-of-bound margin on the far side of the court, and the Jaguars now are slowly but surely cooking up a comeback here. But again, it's stifled on the part of the Bobcats, and the Jaguars' defense attributed to their 14th point. Katie Ray's on the serve, but the Jaguars come back with a vicious kill from Caleb Baptiste. Excellent blocking up front from the Bobcats. Counter-strike it to where the Jaguars could not recuperate any defensive digs or sets for the Jaguars. So the Bobcats mosey their way on up to a 4-point advantage. And again, a kill that deflects off of the Jaguars, puts the Jaguars stifle a run from the Bobcats. Kaylee Boatwright is now on the serve for the Jaguars. And Savannah Gonzalez hammers a point home for the Jaguars in an absolutely vicious kill that sent two Bobcat defenders diving, but they could not make the dig out. And now a dig from the Bobcats ventures off in a direction where they were not accounting for, and Savannah Gonzalez on the opposite end has a chance to hammer home another point. A kill that was picked up by the Bobcats on defense, but it went south as some deflections off of the digs did not go their way. But that did, as number 16 for the Bobcats makes sure that they cling to a 3-point advantage. It is now 17-4. And if you want an example of how imperative communication is, just listen to that particular point as the Jaguars capitalize on their 15th point via a ref's call. And now, as the Jaguars are on serve, Catherine D. Sylvester ventures out of the game for the Jaguars. And number 16 kills it for the Bobcats, but when you have phenomenal blocking up front, it's hard to penetrate, as that was the case right there, and that was displayed by the Jaguars. But having no fear, the Bobcats come right back and score one for the Bobcats. So Miller Howard is back on the serve. And Paige Elliott, though, comes right back in a kill in a spot to where no Bobcat defenders were. And now that has the Jaguars in control, but the control quickly goes back to the Bobcats. It's number 16. Sails one out to Catherine D. Sylvester. And Savannah Gonzalez with a kill that deadens right in front of the Bobcats for their 18th point. Savannah Gonzalez with an absolutely phenomenal defensive save. The Bobcats could not recuperate, as this game is knotted up at 19 all, and Savannah Gonzalez serves it off and caught the defender on the back of her heels, as now Georgia College and the Jaguars come roaring back and tack on their 21st point. And also, fans, here at the Jaguar Network and myself, I want to extend a huge thank you to all of the seniors on the Jaguars for an absolutely phenomenal season, and just to let them know that with it being our last volleyball broadcast, that their hearts will always be with the Jaguars. As now you have the ref explaining to head coach of the Bobcats, Gretchen Krumdick, what happen on that last play to give the Jaguars a 3-point advantage. That might have caught Catherine DeSylvester on the back of her heels there, as that float over was just enough in front of Catherine to deliver the Bobcats' 20th point. And the blocks up front for the Bobcats bring home their 21st point. So that timeout the Bobcats took served them extremely well. Paige Elliott tried to initiate a soft touch. She does, but the Bobcat defense was ready for it and rejected that soft touch in the front court. And now have tied this puppy up 22-all. The Bobcats, off of a line ref's decision with a kill venturing out of bounds, sends the Jaguars.
What you've gained as a student will be just as important to you as what you did as a player. As long as you know that you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable, there's no failure. Success on 3.
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes. And just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
The Jaguars have a 1-point deficit here in a game that the Bobcats desperately need if they want to continue to extend this matchup into a 5th game. And Ebony Powers has exerted herself extremely well in this matchup, and you can tack on another point for the Bobcats and for Miss Powers. And the blocking up front from Blake Willoughby of the Bobcats proves to be their 24th point. And now they are 1 point away from sending this matchup into a pivotal 5th game. But now the Jaguars score their 24th point. So we're down to a situation
There are over 400,000 NCAA student athletes, and just about all of us will be going pro in something other than sports.
as we alluded to before the timeout, we're down to a situation to where any team who scores the next point will have to score 2 consecutive points to claim victory here in game number 4. And the Bobcats are well on their way to doing just that as they conquer their 25th point of the game. And now number 10 for the Bobcats looks to place a stamp on this game for the Bobcats, but the Jaguars have some other ideas as they acquire their 25th point. And in this sudden death format here, coming out of the gate, each team is rearing back and ready to go, cooking on all cylinders, scoring 1 point each, and the Bobcats just ignite their offense even farther, coming to their 26th point. The Jaguars now are back on the offensive. Excellent recovery there from the Bobcats. Caleb Baptiste, though, with a vicious kill that the Bobcats pick up. And via a crucial line judge's decision, that particular point was awarded to the Jaguars to tie this thing up at 26. The Bobcats are jumping out to a 27-26 lead. And Augusta comes right back and evens up the score at 27 off of some defensive digs and that deviate from where the Bobcats wanted them to go. And now Augusta leaps out to a 28-27 lead. And folks, we cannot tell you enough how much the intensity for both squads here are amped up to its highest capacity, as both teams want this extremely bad. As there you see the Bobcats tack on their 28th point and ignite their offense and also tie this puppy up at 28. And the Bobcats' focus has been tremendous here in the last 4 to 5 points. But there again, as well focused as the Bobcats have been, it's been a little bit of miscues from some of the from some of the Bobcat defenders that has allowed the Jaguars to jump out to a 1 point lead, 29-28. And some of these soft touches from the Bobcats are killing the Jaguars as the Bobcats tie it up at 29. And folks, remember too, we have the seventh ranked Jaguars taking on the 8th ranked Bobcats. If the Bobcats were to gain victory here at Christenberry Fieldhouse, it would make a statement for the Bobcats going in to some playoff scenarios, but the Jaguars capitalize again on some miscues from the Jags, and they are on point serve here. Point and match serve shoots over into the Jaguars' favor off of a kill that places staple in this matchup. And fans, before we leave, I do want to mention that as we wrap up the volleyball schedule, or the volleyball home portion of the webcast, I do want to say to the seniors that your hearts will always be with us here at Augusta University, and also mention to you that even though we're wrapping up